So let's see here. All right. It's again, I want to thank everybody who made it to this first experiment of ours here at NACo with the virtual session. I know we've all been zooming and booming for a while now, for sure. And so this is with the backdrop of the pandemic, not necessarily a new thing. So to get us started here, I'm Chris. I'm Chris OctCIOForum. I'm the Tarrant County CIO. Tarrant County is in Texas, for those who don't know. And we are a 2 million population county. And we have some very highly esteemed, highly credentialed panel members that will talk us through a few things here on phishing. And sure enough, we'll talk about phishing like in cyber, right? Not fishing at the lake. All right. And so I will introduce our panel members here. And real quick, but before I do that, I think just a few quick housekeeping things. You can go ahead. Let me make sure this is there. Yes, you can. You should be able to, for the participants in this, in the room here, you should be able to raise your hand if you have a question. You should be able to also unmute yourself and ask a question. We do also ask, of course, that you mute yourself if you're not speaking, right? So that our speakers can come through to us uninterrupted. So how about we start with lady before gentlemen? All right, so we have Joanna Hussman is a senior, she's a senior vice president of strategic insights and research at KnowBe4. She is a marketing, training, and communications professional with over 20 years under her belt, all right? 20 years experience in strategic, internal, and customer-facing engagements. And Joanna was previously a senior research director at Gartner. I love Gartner. And she focused, her area of research and focus was security awareness, education, behavioral management, culture, crisis communications, and again, obviously security and risk program management. That's quite a bit there, Joanna. And before that, she was a senior director of the global security at ADP. Very strong credentials there. We also do have Eric Avakian. And Eric was named the Chief Information Security Officer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 2010. He is responsible for the information security strategy, everything in that stack, including risk management, compliance, and security policies, and everything we typically think of, right? Prior to that, to his appointment, Eric served as the Deputy Chief Information Security Officer for the Commonwealth of Virginia since 2007, and he joined the Commonwealth in 2005. Quite a great public service there, years of service there. Eric, thank you for that. And he used to be a technical enterprise security consultant. And then we have Rick Melwick. Rick is from the county of Livingston there, the role of CIO and the CISO and Deputy County Administrator. 2014, he was the Center for Digital Government, Cybersecurity, Innovation, and Leadership honoree. He received that award. And more importantly, Rick serves in the Army Reserve, the Cyber Command. Thank you for your service to country. Yeah, all right. With all of that out of the way, we're going to have a really, really good panel here. Let me start, open this up, and again, I would go ladies before gentlemen here. So Joanna, in just a few minutes, and I will just try to do this round robin. I got quite a bit I want to put in here. It's not every day we'll get folks of your caliber, okay? So we want to get as much in here. Joanna, if you can take a few minutes here and just tell us a little bit, how has the landscape on phishing changed since the pandemic? What have you observed? What do you see?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me first of all. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your guests. So I think there's two things that have been most notable since the start of the pandemic. And that is that, and I think that we've seen this materialize over the past couple of years, but it's just kind of strengthened in nature, is that kind of hacking has gone pro, right? And so, long are the days when it's kind of adolescent pranksters, although we did see that with the Twitter hack most recently. And what we're finding is it's kind of a more kind of sophisticated professional hacking gangs that, are, making millions of dollars every single day by trying to compromise, home users and corporations. But back in March, we saw a definite spike, about 6,000% increase in phishing attacks specific to COVID related, messaging. And I think the other thing that we've noticed as well is that, I think that, most companies now are taking kind of the position that everyone's been hacked, right? So if you're assuming that you've been breached in some way or another, that just kind of changes the way that you operate and behave, and how you look to kind of better leverage your endpoint, which is your employees, to try to better, protect and defend not only your professional environment, but their personal ones, since we're seeing a lot of that work from home, situations now as well.
Thank you. Same question to you, Eric. What are you seeing? How has the landscape shifted? What are you observing?
Well, just as Joanna has referenced, I think from a state perspective, coming from state government, what we've really seen is, this ramp up in local attacks, particularly in local governments. Ransomware we see on the rise, phishing emails related to that kind of stuff, and COVID. So when COVID took kind of effect in March, we saw an uptick in those types of social engineering attacks. And again, predominantly throughout, we continue to see a scaled up attacks related to ransomware. Obviously, since telework has become not so much an option prior to COVID, but after COVID, to really the way people are working, it really changes the way people interact. Teams that used to be together in a room now have to work remotely, and that changes the dynamics as to how people work. The bad guys are taking advantage of some of those things. We see some of the vulnerability announcements, the patch announcements that are coming out, that we see coming out through CISA, and the bad guys taking advantage of those vulnerabilities because people are working differently today than they have in the past when it comes to remote workforce. So I think, the good news is that, to shift a workforce to telework, at least for us, was relatively easy. But knowing those different dynamics and how social engineering and phishing have been ramped up, and then how to apply those things are very important. But we have seen those upticks from the bad guys taking advantage of the change in the dynamics as to how people work.
Wow. Thank you, Eric. So let's do it. So Rick, I asked you the same question, but if you can also start the beginnings of chiming in for us, not only how have you seen the landscape shift for phishing, but how are things changing as well, right, in end user education, right?
Yes, that's a great question. And I do want to say a few things. You introduced me. I am a major in the U.S. Army Cyber Command. And what I'm going to share with you today does not represent the government, DOD, Cyber Command, or NSA. They're my thoughts. I do not represent the government. But one thing you didn't mention, I'm also a part of a security awareness company called Wiser. It's the only company in the world that offers free enterprise-grade, high-quality security awareness. And so I can speak from that perspective. I'm no longer with the county, but I spent 6.5 years there. So I know what you guys are going through. I know the challenges, the pain points, and I can share my perspectives on that. So end-user education, we're seeing more people embrace it. We really are. They're realizing that we need to do something. And COVID has really been a catalyst for this, we believe. So more people are getting more into the science of security awareness. They're not just picking, the companies that have the best marketing or call them every day or have the longest training or whatever. They are actually looking at the science. How do I change habits and behaviors of my team members? How do I do that? And if I do in a positive way, it's going to reduce risk. How does the brain work? There's an article from Forrester here recently, and they talked about mental health, and it is so important. And the research director, Joe Blankenship, I think his name is, he talked about empathy as a new superpower. So we're seeing a lot of empathy out there, and empathy is so important. Think about the health of your, the health of your, of your employees as you roll out these programs or technology. And we're seeing more of that. And I like that. So I'm seeing more people saying, we're not going to do phishing campaigns, especially not now. And we were one of the first companies to tell our clients, hey, don't surprise your employees with phishing campaigns right now. They got too much going on right now. They're at home, they're scared, they're uncertain. And so we're seeing a shift in mental health. And I'm very happy to see that. Even our keynote speaker talked about it a little today. So, and by the way, last Saturday was Mental Health Day for the international community. So that's what we're seeing.
Oh, that's powerful. That second part of the question then, Joanna, how have you seen the landscape shifted, or what has changed in how we've looked at end user education, user awareness?
Sure, absolutely. And so I think, we take a little bit of a different approach at KnowBe4, right? And so I think when we look at kind of the behavioral components of working from home, these hackers, the bad guys, the criminals, right? They're looking at, the highest degree of distraction possible in order to be able to get your employees to click on something without thinking, right? So it's about working on that muscle memory and making sure that your employees instinctively understand and know what to do should something arise that they need to make a quick decision on. And listen, what you see behind me is kind of a fairly calm environment. What you don't see around me are children running around and a husband upstairs trying to work who can't go into Manhattan, and the phone ringing and FedEx coming to my door and a whole other list of things that I've got going on, right? And so the distraction is a key component here. We at KnowBe4 strongly believe that now is not the time to pull back. So we understand kind of the behavioral and the mental health aspect of, making sure that your employees are in the moment. But we also believe now is the time to continuously train and provide them with that comprehensive approach to education and learning to just elevate and raise their ability to understand and recognize, what's coming into their systems. I will say also that, from an anti-phishing campaign perspective, we also believe that, monthly at a minimal, phishing is important through whatever kind of economic climate, health climate, whatever is going on, and probably more so for those people that are in high positions of risk and highly targeted. Now is the time to see, how all the hard work that you've been doing to better, provide your employees with that awareness and to strengthen that muscle is working. We also believe in education. What we're seeing is that vendors are starting to understand that from a behavioral perspective, people learn in very different ways and, receive communication and intake information in different ways. And so instead of leveraging kind of a one-size-fits-all approach to training and awareness, they're providing their employees with lots of different varieties on a single topic, right? So that they can bring the learning to the learner versus having the learner, come someplace and have to adjust to intake the learning. So, we're encouraging our customers to keep on keeping on through this pandemic and potentially escalate their actions.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joanna. I look away a little bit from your speaking because I'm writing down notes, right?
Because you're distracted, right? So this is all about it. Proves my point.
For good purpose, right? I got to take notes. Like I said, it's not every time you get an opportunity to have a high-powered panel like this. We do welcome those who just joined a little bit late here. Our panel here, again, is discussing phishing and end user. And there's quite some nuggets that I'm capturing for my own purposes here. All right. I will go to Eric. Eric, let me welcome Chris here. Chris Constance is chair of our IT Standing Committee at NACo. We feel very privileged to have you here, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Can I ask a quick question if possible?
Oh, absolutely. Please.
Thank you, sir. So as an elected, I hear about the issues, and certainly I am very IT friendly. And so I want to make sure that my guys have everything they need to perform appropriately. And by the way, I want to say hi to Eric and Rich and Joanna, and thank you guys very much for joining our panel. And Chris, thank you for hosting. But here's the thing. I think if there's a way to engage all of our employees, and I hate to say make it a game, but make it a game where it's exciting, that not just that there might be prizes involved. I think that's less important. I think the competition about, if you had something where you have to try to guess which one of these emails is phishing, and it's not through your email, my God, it's, you go to a certain portal and you're given things to sort of entice you to, hey, what's wrong? This one's wrong. What's wrong with this? Try to pick out what's wrong with this picture versus I'm going to give you 3 emails. Pick the one that's probably problematic. Or, how would you, another exercise, how would you establish whether or not this is real or not? What's the protocol to go through? That's pretty easy. You email it to your IT guy and you say, hey, I think this is funny. I didn't touch anything. I just sent it to you. But are there games? Are there protocols? Are there ways to better engage than a very dry educational experience or the gotcha thing? Because, people, I guess it's good because if the gotchas are out there, you're really, if it's a bad gotcha and it's the real thing, you could be shutting down parts of your network. If it's us phishing internally and I gotcha, well, that's embarrassing. So now, but I get that part of it, but I want to know what's being developed that's a positive kind of a game, fun thing, like, wow, I really learned and I had a good time and I'm able to teach other people, that type of stuff. So
yeah, if I could help answer that, I think you're right on the right track. So I know, like, if, for instance, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so from a security, I think it starts with security awareness training, right? So how we train our users, and our training programs have been gamified. So we've enabled gaming concepts within the training so that the end user is actually interacting with the training. They're not just clicking through slides. We've got 80,000 users here. So from a general population, that's a lot of people that we need to train. And we changed our training several years ago where it was very static to gamified, where it's user interactive. So the user's interacting with the training and it is fun and it's engaging. And so they're getting so that they're learning from what they're being, with the game. So I think that's been very effective. And we also, take note of users that either get phishing emails and then they report it to make note of that and appreciate that because they're actually part of the incident response team. So we do call out users who are reporting emails into us that they seem as suspicious because, again, it's the right thing to do. And it's one of the learning concepts that we train users on in that gamified training. But I think what you're getting at is when we do these exercises, which we also do on a regular basis, that are tied to the learning concepts in our gamified security training, that they're also then, hey, you did something great. You caught it. You didn't click. So I think it's really important to call out and catch people doing something right, to your perspective. And I think the challenge comes is, okay, well, how do we reward people? I know in certain instances, what's been very successful is just sending somebody a certificate, that they did really well, and people appreciate those little things. We can't always provide monetary types of things, but But when you just call out somebody for doing something right, even that level of appreciation is the right approach. And I think it also then helps promote positive culture change as opposed to trying to catch people doing things wrong.
Hey,
Well, I
Chris.
think
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, just sitting here, I've just invented the monthly anti-phishing award at Charlotte County. And I think I'm going to talk to my administrator about, as IT gets people exposing stuff, there's got to be somebody every month who found something that they didn't even know about that was really critical. And they said, you know what, this could have been bad and you turned it into something really good. And we're going to honor them down on the dais once a month and make it part of the culture. So,
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, I think you're on the right track, and what you described is exactly what we do. That game, something where they can be relaxed. The phishing simulations, I'm biased towards it. I sell it, but listen, you send out one once a month, and not everybody opens it. Not everybody gets the advantage of it. Many people don't open up a phishing email because they don't have time or they just didn't see it. It's not because they're security aware. So we need to train our employees all at once, like a game. I give you 10 different emails. You decide whether it's phishing or legitimate. You look at the clues, imitation links, and I feel relaxed. So you look at the mental health. How's my serotonin? How's those other chemicals in my mind? Am I going to be productive and efficient? And so I think that's very powerful to do that because you train them all at once. In the military, we don't train our soldiers little by little. We train them at once and we train them again, not just little pieces. But, some people are going to continue to phish, but I think you need to make it positive, like Eric's doing. And Eric, we talked before, and you're definitely a role model for the country. So hopefully your program gets out there more.
Appreciate it.
There's something I want to add here. Thank you so much, Rick. And quite frankly, Eric, I appreciate all that you said. Very good question, legit, Chris. So here's to tie to Chris's question, and I'll go to you, Joanna. So what are you seeing as the opportunities or initiatives for this coming year, right? Some things to the line that Honorable Chris Constance just asked.
Great, excellent. So thank you. Hi, Chris. So I'll just kind of build off of what my colleagues here have said as well. When I was at Gartner, I actually led all of the security awareness and training research for the industry. I was very close to a lot of the vendors and also wrote the Magic Quadrant for the past 4 years. And I think a lot of the research that I did at Gartner is very consistent with what we're seeing here, specifically within the industry at KnowBe4. And I think one of the things that we've been talking about is that kind of reward consequence. And I'm not going to take the time to kind of restate what my colleagues have said, but there's a great research paper that I authored at Gartner about kind of that reward consequence process and how you go about it. But I think one of the other things that we're seeing, and also I've had a research paper on this, is the thinking around, setting up advocates, setting up security, like-minded people across your audience that can help drive your messaging deeper into the organization. And so, when you're talking about rewarding people and consistently people who have, been able to detect or promote good behaviors or have really been role modeling well, this whole idea of an advocate, it doesn't have to be somebody who's a security professional, but somebody within a respective location who has a lot of influence and has knowledge that they can then take your messaging and your content and your approach and really make sure that it kind of fits the audience that they're involved with. When I was at ADP and I had done this, our security advocate, say for example, in France, I'm not close to the French culture, nor do I know how they receive messages. And so he was able to really fit that. So I think we're going to see this kind of whole advocacy thing grow as well. And I also just think from a content perspective, right? And this goes back to my one size doesn't fit all. We encourage our clients here, and when I was at Gartner, to really look and partner with providers that can offer you lots of different styles. So gaming is one style, but then you have a subset of employees that are attracted to that gaming style. You have other employees that are not attracted to that and don't learn that way. So on a single topic of, let's say, phishing, you would want to work with a vendor that has maybe 5 or 6 different approaches, same content, so that you can meet your learner, right? And so I would say, does gaming work for everyone? No, I'm not a gaming learner. I'm a different kind of learner, but it's something very much to look forward and to look into. I would also say that in past years, security awareness content and exciting or fun never were in the same sentence, right? Because a lot of the content was created by security practitioners who had no real understanding of organizational development and or training or behavioral management, right? So how do you make people learn? Now the playing field has completely changed. And so you have providers like KnowBe4, and I'm certainly biased to that, that can provide you with content in lots of different flavors so that you can engage in fun ways. For example, we have a Netflix style series called The Inside Man. Lots of our clients, I mean, it's gained a lot of attention in the industry, but it literally is a movie end to end. And it's short, bite-sized pieces of information and content that you can digest. Other vendors as well have very good content that are, fun and engaging and interesting. And it's just about finding that right mix to appeal to all of your audience.
Thank you. Again, to our audience, if you have any question, you can put your hand up or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. In the few minutes, as Brandon has put up the notice for us that we were tying up right at the bottom of the hour here. I'd like each of our esteemed panelists to take a minute each, and as I said, I'll squeeze in as much as I can here. Just give me a few nuggets pertaining to this dual question. Do phishing tests really work, and how often should a county or any entity for that matter be carrying out those campaigns? I will start with Eric.
Yeah, so we've been doing these types of tests now. And again, I'm product agnostic from that perspective, but we've been doing phishing tests with some commercial solutions that we've partnered with some vendors on for several years now. And I can tell you that they absolutely do work. In the behavior and the culture change that's come with those and the frequency that we do them has certainly changed for the better. More people are aware. And the user population is more receptive to it. I know when we first started to do these tests years ago, it was very kind of it was looked at differently. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't want people to get upset. And working through that, that I guess initial issue was challenging, but by working with just some of those psychological, benefits that can come with this type of training and showing, especially the steering team and executive management, how important it is to promote positive culture change. It's led to absolute improvements in our security of our end user population. I guess to the question is, what is the frequency? I think it really, if it's a question, whereas if an organization hasn't started, then maybe they start small. They just kind of test it out to warm those waters so that people get comfortable with it. For the more mature organizations that have already started doing this stuff, I would say to ramp it up, and particularly for certain populations of users. So if you've got privileged users, for instance, maybe the frequency for them is a little bit more frequent, or if there's election type of individuals, maybe there's a different frequency. But I would say as you progress and mature the program, that you potentially continue on an upward path to get a regular cadence so that you're getting meaningful metrics and you're promoting meaningful behavioral and positive culture change.
Thank you, Eric. And in 1 minute, Rick, same to you. Do these phishing tests work, and how often should phishing testing be happening?
They certainly do work if you do it in a positive way and you do it the right way. And the right way is a different way for every culture. You could break the law in doing it. I mean, there's different, you've got to do it the right way. You shouldn't be sending out IRS things. You shouldn't be sending out, phishing campaigns that target, hey, here's a bonus for you. And you just went through layoffs and things like that. So if you could do it the right way, I think there's going to be advantages. Now I'm going to reference Forrester. They talked about, hey, don't go past 6 months if you're going to do it. So we see a lot doing 3 months, but like I said before, a lot of people are moving away from it. because you're not doing it enough. And so the statistic you get from phishing is a sample statistic. It's not population statistic because not everybody's opening up these one emails you send out once a month. If you do it positive, it's great. If I was a CISO, I would do it every 3 months. I would rely on other statistics though to build on, is my security campaign actually working, or culture, is it getting better?
Nice. And Joanna, you stir us up here. Same question. And
Yeah, absolutely.
Joanne, before you answer, I'm producing a new show called 90 Day Phishing the Other Way. So I just
all right.
That's great. And considering that I read it's probably one of the most popular reality TV shows, you're about to piggyback off of something great. So listen, I mean, I think that I've been pretty clear about, our position on, phishing and the frequency and so forth. And so certainly it's not fear for fun. It's not a gotcha exercise. One of the components is certainly enrolling your audience in. That's a security cultural thing, right? And so at the front end of any kind of good security program, whether it be tech or whether it be education, you need to engage your employees, your audience, so that they understand what their overall role is in meeting the desired objective of being more safe. If you don't do that, then they will perceive it as something negative, or they will perceive it as a gotcha exercise. I think the other thing is that the more that you attach it to how they can personally be beneficial, right? So how they can benefit from their friends, families, loved ones in this adventure. And, if you certainly, increase the security hygiene at work, it's going to transition right over to the personal space and then back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, culture, right? So it's all about security culture here we're talking.
Yep.
And we do have some great research on that as well.
Very good. And we're right at the bottom of the hour. And if you can take just 1 second each, 2 seconds each for any closing thoughts, we're right at the bottom of the hour. Let's, since we're with you, Joanna, can you go first, please?
Our research shows if you do nothing, you're about 40% susceptible to be compromised. If you do something and do it consistently for 12 months at a minimum, that goes down to single digits, low single digits. So, I mean, it's worth it.
Thank you. Rick?
People say people are your weakest link. They're only your weakest link if you allow them to be the weakest link. Educate them. And if you're looking for training, or you're going to build your own, a lot of counties and cities are building their own, make it personal. Like Joanne said, you got to tie it to home. You got to tie it to work. It's going to work both ways. It's a win-win situation. So thank you very much for having me.
Yes, sir. And you have the last word, Eric.
Sure, I agree with my colleagues, and especially Rich, you mentioned keeping it personal. Anytime you can do that and bring and engage the user even more and make it meaningful. But I think these programs can work, and I think the benefits that come from these types of programs is really enabling the end user as that extension of your incident response team. They become security savvy, and they're part of the entire team. They feel connected, they feel engaged, and they feel good about that as well. So I think putting these programs in place promotes great and positive culture change and behavior.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Joanna. And thanks to our attendees and Honorable Chris Constance. Thanks for attending this with us. Brandon, you're the best. And this panel, you're the best in this business. Thank you, guys. And
Thank you.
This brings
Thank you very much.
Our session.
Thank you.
Eric, you going to drum us out? What?
we can just go ahead.
Maybe another time.
Hey, Tracy, how are you?
Yeah, you have the link there to go back to the other session, so you can just click and it will take you right out, okay?
Very good.
Okay.